Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order this workshop for the Borough of Gettysburg Borough Council for Monday, October 20th, 2025. The only announcement I have tonight is I'd like to remind everyone that Trick or Treat will be Friday, October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. And I do want to remind the adult residents of the borough that there's going to be a lot of kids running around, maybe not thinking before they step out into the street. So please take your time, slow down, and keep a watchful eye on the roads. We also do have the Halloween parade on Tuesday, weather permitting. With the is it Wednesday, the rain date?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe it is.
Thursday.
All right. So come on down to the square. There's all sorts of fun to be had the evening of the 21st. The next few weeks will be dedicated to the budget process. The next 3 Mondays, today and then the next 2 Mondays will be workshops for the budget. If necessary, we'll have another one on Tuesday the 4th. Ideally, we will plow through the entire process here in the coming couple weeks. This is a kind of tedious process, but this is definitely where the sausage gets made here in the borough. And we do try our level best to make this process as public and as transparent as possible. So I hope those of you watching at home will tune in for the next few weeks as we hammer out the budget for the next year. One last announcement. An executive session was conducted by the Borough Council of the Borough of Gettysburg immediately following the adjournment of its monthly business meeting held on October 14th, 2025, consistent with Section 708A1 and Section 708A5 of the Sunshine Act. Just a quick note before we move on. If you are here for the planning meeting that is happening at the same time as this one, that's actually going to be upstairs. I don't see anybody rushing towards the door. I heard Sue say she's going to make a public comment and then go to the Planning Commission. All right, just everybody else is here for what we do. Great. That takes us to the first public comment section of the evening. This section is restricted to items appearing on tonight's agenda, which is all budget. Please limit yourself to 5 minutes. Please use the podium and the microphone. Please state your name and address of residence. Is there any public comment?
I'm Sue Sipperly. I live at 314 North Stratton Street in Gettysburg, and I did send you all a copy of my concerns. In early 2024, I asked that the council consider funding broadcasting the Planning Commission meetings as they took on the rezoning and the Gettysburg Station project. At that time, I was told it could be considered during the 2025 budget process, and actually turned out that the rezoning took a lot more months than it was originally thought. But at that time in 2025, rightfully some of the council members said, well, what if all of them wanted to be broadcast? And at that time, Mr. Gable, I think he did a quick calculation and said, we have 10 authorities, boards, and commissions, and we can't broadcast them all. And it would cost thousands of dollars to do so. I believe the dollar figure he mentioned was $50,000 for all of them. I looked into that, and I gave you a chart which shows that not all the ABCs, as we call them, meet, even once a month. I looked at 2024 and 2025. There's, out of that 10, there's 3 authorities who have their own budgets. Stormwater pays for their own broadcasting. So out of those 7 that are left, I gave you some information, and even if you broadcast those remaining 7 based on the meetings times that they meet per year, it would be less than $10,000 for all of them, including the Planning Commission. So some local citizens got together and funded the broadcasting, and beginning in May 2024 to May 2025, just as an example, for a year, we paid $3,460 to broadcast the Planning Commission and at least one HARB meeting. And this needs to continue because it's important. They still got some major projects on their agenda, so I'm just asking once again to have the Planning Commission broadcasting put into the budget. Now that you have more accurate information, maybe it will assist in making a decision that better serves the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move along. So every year we dig into this pretty sizable document. The worksheet that we get out of our management software that we see here as we're putting this together is generally somewhere around a couple hundred pages. Last year we made a transition to a new platform for management of our finance system, and the reports that generates are not terribly conducive to reading. They're not easy to read. So Manager Gable has taken it upon himself to create a different set of spreadsheets this year to help us get through these processes. Additionally, one other thing we're going to do differently this year is I've asked him to go through line by line, and this will become most evident when we get to Fund 1, and to highlight everything that's actually discretionary for us. That we've had previous years where the amount of our discretionary funds has been estimated to be around 7%. This year it's a little shy of 10%, I believe. And I think it's important that all of us understand that even though we are looking at a $7 million budget, the vast majority of that is stuff that is required either by contractual obligation or by statute. We will be going through all of it because that is the correct way to do this. We'll go through line by line as we always have, but we will have the ability to pay special attention to the things that are actually discretionary. I think tonight we're going to go through most of the smaller funds, which tend to be lower impact on the big picture, but there's some pretty important stuff in there. And I think this will be a good warm-up for us before we get to Fund 1, which is going to be a much more intensive read. As we go through this, if you do see things that are marked with a red box as something that is discretionary, and if that is something you want to revisit as we start getting towards the close of this process, please make a note. What fund it was in, what page it was on, and where you'd like to see that program go. As we are moving through here, though, should there be something you want to discuss, members, please don't be shy about raising your voice and letting a concern be discussed. There won't be too much, I think, in these smaller funds tonight. That's one, and most of it's not discretionary, but also none of it's terribly, contentious stuff. A lot of this is, the nuts and bolts we need to do to run our government. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Mr. Gable, and I believe he wanted to start with Fund 3. Is that correct?
Yeah, before we do that, I actually have page 92 of Fund 1 for illustrative purposes. To Ms. Sipperly's point, in the first draft, you will see 12 HARB meetings and 12 Planning Commission meetings proposed to be broadcast for
Which
about
page?
Page 92 of Fund 1. And the other reason I'm pointing this out right now, not only because Ms. Sipperly mentioned it, but that's also considered a discretionary line item. Thus, you'll see the red boxes indicating as such. So, again, anything where you see a red box in any of these funds is a discretionary option for your consideration. Okay, Fund 3. Fund 3 is our fire protection fund. A millage of 0.5 mils is assessed on all taxable property in the borough. It generates about $248,000, give or take. We're a little bit under that collected this year to date in 2025. That's why I'm estimating $243,000 in revenue generated in fiscal year 2026. The way this fund works is once the tax collector collects the revenue generated from the 0.5 mils, that sits in an account managed by the borough, and then anytime there's a need for equipment or training or any other types of allowable expenses, the fire department will submit those invoices to the borough, and then we cut the requisite check to the fire department. So you'll see the revenues and expenditures offset to zero in this fund. It is possible that not all the funds are expended in 1 year. Then the money just sits in the account until they need a big purchase, which is also allowable. Questions, concerns, comments?
Anything on that? All right. Are we all still comfortable with that 0.5 millage?
Yeah, that's the big question. If you remember 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago.
I think it was just last year.
What was it last year? Was the first year for 0.5? Okay.
I think so.
It had been at 0.25 since 2013, and so former member Heiser suggested it's time to increase that, and the council agreed to that. And this does envision holding that steady at 0.5.
Okay. Any comments? Okay.
All right. The next fund I think we should look at is Fund 4, which is Community Development Block Grant. This is a federal entitlement program through Department of Housing and Urban Development. We also have a contract with the state, or not the state, the county planning office. They actually administer these funds on the borough's behalf. The allotment for Fund 4 in fiscal year 2026 is $126,173. In the notes, you'll see that on the expenditure side, the recent history for the use of these funds. Traditionally, the funds have been used for ADA accessible curb ramps in the borough. We did that in combination with other funding sources for the revitalization of the Gettysburg Interloop on North Washington Street this past year. That fund was using program years 2021 and 2022. In this budget, we envision using program years 23 and 24 for the same CDBG curb ramps. So we'll combine 2 years of funding so we can get a bigger project done in 2026. And then, of course, council pivoted at the request of the Child Advocacy Center for fiscal year or program year 2025. And the reason I'm using difference between program year and fiscal year is the money, the year that the money is allotted by HUD is not the year that it is actually expended. So there is a semantic difference between program year and fiscal year when the funds are used.
It's worth noting that last year we spent a good chunk of 2022, I believe, CDBG money for the Interloop project on Washington Street. And you'll recall at the beginning of the year, we were sort of met with an imperative to spend down those dollars in that calendar year. We have an onus to spend these dollars in the year that they can be spent. If they're not spent responsibly and dependably, it imperils our ability to participate in this program.
And it would not be easy to change the use, because if you remember, for all of use of CDBG funds, we have the 2 public hearings, and that's the deliberative process that you hear from the public what they think they should use the funds for, and then the council ultimately decides. So those years have been allotted for CDBG curb ramps. Just pointing out that if we wanted to pivot, it'd be difficult to do so at this late hour. Any questions, comments, concerns on Fund 4?
I think we're good.
Okay. Let's jump over to Fund 40, the revolving loan fund. This fund, I'm hoping at one point in the not too distant future we actually begin to use this, and I think once the council finalizes your sidewalk program, we will be able to use this fund. But if you remember, this is the fund that was created out of the grant that was given to Kenny's Market years and years ago. That grant was repaid to the borough, and that created the use of these funds. That money has essentially been sitting idle since. Now, we did use it briefly during COVID, where we created a zero-interest loan program for some struggling businesses. In the revenue, you'll see the miscellaneous revenue, number 389. That's $0 this year. That was the money coming back in from the loans we issued in 2020 and 2021. All those loans are repaid, so that revenue stream now is zero, and there is no offsetting expense. So really, the only thing to account for in Fund 40 is interest revenue for 2026. Unless there's something else that the council would desire to do with this fund in the interim.
What is the balance on that fund?
Please hold.
Yep.
This is why I brought everything. Wrong one. $381,800.
Thank you. All right, any questions on the Fund 40? Okay.
All right. Let's do the fun one. Fun because it's the last year for it. Fund 96, ARPA. American Rescue Plan Act, as I mentioned last week, this coming year, 2026, is the last year for this program. And the $3.1 million has largely been spent down over the last 5 years. There is about $378,000 left in the ARPA fund, which will be ultimately transferred to the general fund for the provision of government services, which is reimbursing police salaries largely, which is what we've been doing for the last several years, which is an allowable expense in the ARPA program. So after 2026, all those funds will have been depleted. We will not be discussing Fund 96 next year. And will not be able to be considered as a revenue source for Fund 1 after fiscal year 26.
Okay.
So when we get to Fund 1 in the revenues, you'll see the $378,000 listed in a revenue line item. That's how those two funds intertwine. Questions? Okay. Let's go to 23, debt service. Fund 3 is largely linked to Fund 1 in that as an expense in Fund 1 and considered revenue in Fund 23 is a transfer of both principal and interest payments on the borough's debt. Next year, there is somewhat of a balloon payment of $660,000. Typically, if you looked at the amortization schedule over the last 10 years or so, it hovers around $635 a year. So there's a little bit more next year. That's just the way the amortization schedule worked out. The number for 2027 will actually go back down. It won't be as high as 660. So here you see we're anticipating about 9,700 in interest earnings for the year, and then of course a transfer of 660, and you can see the offsetting debt payments for principal, interest, and filing fees. Filing fees are for DAC bond. They manage our bond issuance compliance reporting.
All right. Any questions on that?
And this is why I wanted the gentleman behind me, Bradley LeBure, with us, because we're going to move over to Fund 35, which is liquid fuels. Liquid fuels is the money that is issued to us by the state of Pennsylvania, and it is largely driven by your fuel taxes that you pay at the pump. So it's estimated that the borough will receive about $175,000 in liquid fuels taxes next year. That's typical. It hovers in give or take a thousand or so every year, but it generally hovers around that mark. You can see the past history, 177, 178. And then the offsetting expenses in this department. We can go by the different departments: winter maintenance, traffic control devices, street lighting, and I think we should probably do that because like 438 bridges, for example, council was recently made aware of the emergency repairs that are required on the Water Street Bridge. This is now funded. Those repairs are now funded out of Fund 35. Bradley, do you have anything to add to some of these line items in liquid fuels? By any chance? Throwing this at you. If not, I can.
No, not off the top of my head, no.
All right, let's go through this briefly in the expense department. 432, winter maintenance services, snow, ice removal, supplies to do so. That's the kind of expenditures here. Nothing out of the ordinary. This is typical expenses. Department 433 in Fund 35, traffic control devices. This is largely the under 240 object 245, 12,500. That's largely if you need to buy a new street sign because someone stole it or ran it over with a truck. Object 321 is your communication devices. So this is largely the signal internet connections that we need at the various locations that we have listed there. Moving on to Department 374, just in case we need to make some repairs on some of our equipment, a modest line item there. And then the big one, Department 438 bridges, specifically, I'm sorry, no, that's 439, I need to move on one. 439, now we're talking roads and alleys. All right, I'm getting them mixed up. Roads and alleys, the line item 661 under 439, $284,000. This is a capital improvement program that we listed last week. We already completed the street preservation contract number 1 2 years ago, I think it was. And we have that on the schedule to do the second one of those this year, paid out of liquid fuels, at $284,000. This could be considered a discretion. I don't have a red box next to it, but it is a discretionary line item in that there's no obligation that you do this next year. So if you want to keep banking your liquid fuels money for a larger project down the road, that's certainly an option to you.
Do we have the SIP list somewhere that's accessible?
Yes, if I could go back to,
Can we drop it in the folder for?
it will be in last week's meeting folder
Okay.
in the PowerPoint presentation. You want to look at that? I can find it real quick too.
That was October 14th.
Correct.
Is it Fund 18?
Here we go. These are the capital improvement projects that were planned in the 5-year capital improvement plan from 2022 to 2026. And I'll go one more slide because this slide tells you what's been completed in red, green that's currently underway or will be in the next year, and then yellow is planned for future.
All right, so this one we're discussing right now, 43906, when we say street preservation, is that repaving? Is that oil and chip? What
Bradley, are you able to explain that?
For street preservation?
Yeah.
Yeah, and can you use the mic too, please?
Yeah, so street preservation would be maintenance to the roads, which would include tar and chip, repaving if necessary.
So is Capital Improvement Plan 43906, is that a designated street that's scheduled to be repaved, or is it just general maintenance? I mean, it wouldn't be on the SIP if it was just general maintenance, right?
No, there would be a list. I don't know what that list
Okay.
is. That would be a Chad Clayball question.
So it might be specific alleys need attention, or it could be,
This won't be alleys. This will be actual streets.
okay.
Yep.
So this is discretionary, but we don't know the specific project it would be designated for.
We'd have to get that answer from Chad.
All right, can you make a note for that, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Maybe bridges isn't in here. Where did I put bridges? Put a sticky note on that one. I'll get back to the bridges in a minute.
Can I ask stupid questions, Matt?
Yeah, sure.
So on 439 roads and alleys expenditures, adopted budget 2025, is that what we're considering current actuals?
No, that'd be last year or this current year. The purple boxes are going to be what we're looking at for next year.
For next year, right, but actuals for this year is what is listed as adopted budget 2025.
Correct.
So 439 roads and alleys, currently we're about 3,000. But we're proposing 287,000 for next year.
I'm not following your question. So
So the 3,000 is on 245. The 284,000 is on 661. So in 661 for 2025, we had 0. We did not have a capital improvement plan
Gotcha.
project designated for that year. So
This is why the numbers are going to be so much higher,
yeah.
because we now have a capital
Well,
project.
so I guess it was probably 4 years ago. Council was presented with this binder that's, I mean, it's
Right.
thick as your torso, which was all of the capital improvement proposals for this comprehensive plan. It came to $26,000. And if you flip back to that PowerPoint presentation from last week, everything that's crossed off in red
We've already
is
done.
stuff that we have over the last 4 years been chipping away at. So, I mean, if you look at everything that's left, obviously we're not going to make it through that list in 5 years' time. But next year, the staff will start preparing the next 5-year plan. So as we've been moving through the budgets over the last 4 years, staff will identify projects from the SIP that are attainable and work those into the budget. But those are, in fact, discretionary things that we can decide to push off if we want to, unless it's something, perilous like a bridge collapsing or whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any questions about liquid fuels? And just so everybody has a little background, again, this is something that comes to us from the state. These monies come to us. We have very limited uses that we can apply these monies to, and we should count on this revenue stream starting to diminish over the next 10 years as people move towards more and more EVs and hybrids and away from gasoline. There goes our liquid fuels tax. It is upon the state legislature to figure out a sensible replacement for liquid fuels as gasoline use and diesel use starts to wane, but they haven't done that yet. In a lot of ways, this is some of the only money Pennsylvania gets from people who are passing through the state from, Ohio to New Jersey or north and south. They're using our roads. We're being, compelled to maintain them, but, we make motorists help with that maintenance. So this has been a pretty good revenue stream for us for some time, but we should plan on it starting to be a little bit lower every year over time.
So we will revisit Fund 35. There's some outlying questions on that.
Great. Thank you.
Or would you like to go next? Those were the easy ones.
Yes. We did 4 already, right?
Yes.
All right. So still left is Fund 1, of course, Fund 9.
Well, we don't do Fund 9. That's just there
That's
for your
stormwater.
reference. Fund 9 is stormwater. But it's important for you to understand it because GBSWA reimburses, which will show up as a revenue in Fund 1.
So this is another fund that sort of serves as like a pass-through account for us, money in, money out, zero out in the end. Okay, so I think that leaves Fund 1 to start on.
We can do that.
All right. Now, we will not get through all of Fund 1 tonight. As you start to open that, you will see we're looking at 188 pages. This is the big portion of stuff. This is where we're going to see the most discretionary spending, but this is also, how how our government runs, right? We have traditionally prided ourselves on being a small town that does a lot, adds a lot of service, a lot of value added for people who live here and visit here. And this is how we pay for all that. So this is what we're going to spend the next few meetings on here. We should be able to get through a fairly substantial bit of this today, maybe up to 409. We'll see.
Okay, just a couple highlights. Under revenues, we are currently estimating 7.19 million in revenues over multiple types of departments. Property taxes, occupational taxes, business licenses, permits, fines, interests, obviously parking fees, those types of things. Interestingly enough, you'll note in the orange column in the middle, where it says percent increase over 2025, we're actually estimating a 3.5% revenue increase, and that's just status quo. That's not including a potential tax millage. That's largely driven by your parking programs, which is good news, actually. However, the offset to that is a tough pill to swallow, as we told you last week about the healthcare insurance premiums are going up. We're originally told 24.9%, but it's actually closer to 20%. We were told that late last week. And so what's in front of you today has the lower number baked in. 7.19 of revenue, we are currently projecting 7.56 in expenditures, which gives you a deficit of $370,000, which is down from the 415 that we came out of the box with last week. So what happened? One, I recalculated a lower health insurance premium, and Ms. Lawson asked me a question in an email over the week about the full-time custodian position, which was originally proposed. And based on the timing of when the Gettysburg Welcome Center will open next year, obviously that position would not be full-time starting in January. Ms. Lawson asked, what would it cost to outsource those types of services? The borough used to actually outsource its custodial needs for this building. And on average, we spent just over $13,000 on that service. And quite honestly, we made the assessment for what we're spending. The level of service was not good. They would literally be here like 30 minutes on a Tuesday, Thursday, and you can't get a lot done quality-wise in that amount of time when you're cleaning a building this size. So that's when we pivoted to a part-time position, and we've been operating that way successfully for some time. So what I did to get this down from 415 to 370 is I backed out the full-time position and made it 2 part-time positions, and we can split those duties. It's just how we direct the staff. But by doing that, it eliminates the cost of all the employee payroll taxes and benefits. So that takes you down to 370. Any questions on the outsourcing?
Thank you for looking into that, Charles. I also, I think in my email to you, asked, because the Welcome Center now would be added into that, whether or not we could approach Destination Gettysburg for, a possible contribution for cleaning. I would encourage us to do that. So.
Yeah, we haven't laid the groundwork for that yet. Certainly, we could definitely approach them with that. Ms. Sellers is my partner in everything Gettysburg Welcome Center. We can certainly discuss that strategy and approach them and see what comes back.
Other strategies with.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
I have other strategies with Destination Gettysburg, just so you're.
Maybe we should talk then. All right. Well, thank you. I just was concerned about going from a part-time position to a full-time, and then the benefits given where the health insurance is going. So
yeah. So making that 2 part-time really does trim the fat a little bit.
Thank you.
Now, as we get into each discussion point in department by department. I will tell you that this 370 number potentially could be decreased because currently, if you remember, council authorized a new HVAC system for this building. We have already paid half of that out of 2025 money. The balance for that is sitting here in Fund 1. In theory, you could move that to Fund 18, capital projects, but then you begin to continue to whittle down street work and grant matches and things like that. So my argument out of the box is to pay for the new HVAC system out of current money and not reserve money, which is what Fund 18 is. So that's a discussion point for the council to have as we get there. But that would decrease the 370 by about 148,000. That's about what the balance would be on that.
Sure.
So with those highlights, just want to start going chronological order.
Yeah,
You
let's
wanna-
start plowing through.
Yeah, let's start over in expenditures, and then we'll go back and, because what our revenues will be generated on the types of programs you want to provide.
I do want to take a moment here and say that I appreciate the amount of time and effort you have clearly put into creating this new format. We had, I think, a lot of issues with formatting over the last 2 years with the way our previous software kicked these things out. The notes were illegible. We frequently did not have previous years to compare to. So I do want to thank you for taking the time to do what you've done here. This is, once you get used to what you're looking at, this is really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So Fund 1 is all you. Have at it.
All right. So we've reviewed the revenues and expenditures on the first 2 pages. So page 3 starts to get into individual departments.
I'm on page 28, by the way.
Is that where we skip to expenses?
Yeah, that's the first expenditure.
So we're going to skip to page 20. What page?
28. Department 400.
I think it's 37. Yeah, it's page 37 in our file. I don't know why that's different. Okay, so Department 400, 105 is legislative, council salaries. We each collect a stipend of $2,500 a year. In the coming weeks, council members will be asked whether they intend to collect that stipend or not. But it is a total of, oh, look at me doing math here, 17,500. 192 benefits, FICA. What is that?
What are you looking at?
400, 192. This is just stuff that comes out of payroll. FICA, Medicare.
Yeah, that's your Social Security.
Okay. 400 to 10 is operating supplies. That could be, I don't know, phones and pens and candy baskets, I guess. 400, 321, telephone, landlines for the mayor's office and for this conference room. 400, 324, telephone, wireless for the mayor. We pay for a cell phone for the mayor?
We do.
Yes.
Okay. 400, 325, internet fees. Obviously, stuff we need. 400, 329, Office 365, 8 licenses for the software we use on our computers. 331 travel reimbursement. This would be, this is a discretionary fund. This is, if we decided to go to conferences, this would be mileage and gasoline or tolls. 452 contracted IT service. This is the support on our machines. I'm on page 40 now. 460. Continuing education and training. We have $720 allocated for the mayor's conference, $3,975 allocated for the PML conference, $1,250 for PERLAS. This is all discretionary. We don't have to go to those conferences.
I had a question about that. If somebody makes a reservation for a staff member or elected official to go to a conference and they don't go, are we expecting that they would reimburse that, or do we just eat the cost?
That would be our expense, as I understand it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can be selective in who we delegate to attend these, though. Moving on, 401-105 salary for the mayor is $5,000. That is capped by statute. 401-110 salary for the borough manager, a portion of which is paid by the Stormwater Authority. 401-112 salary. Do we say names in this? I mean, I know in some years we have X'd out names. I don't know.
I mean, all of our salaries are
Public
public
record,
information, so I never understood the argument for people to not
Right.
put the names in there.
Yeah. We have projected across the board percentage increases in salary for the year. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's included in these numbers.
Right. And that what number did we land on?
4.
4%. All right.
4%.
So for our under the office of the manager, we have several different departments or several different positions there. You can see the salary line items for the secretary, for financial services, for human resources, for I think that's it. 401-172 on page 42. Holiday leave, 173. Personal leave, 174. Sick leave, 175. Vacation time. And I'm just trusting members will shout out if they want to talk about anything as I just keep going through.
Just so everyone knows, the sick time is an average on what each of those employees has been using over the last 12 months or so. So I mean, obviously that's going to fluctuate, but in the aggregate, when you're looking at a total compensation package for our staff, you're going to take the straight up payroll, you're going to add the sick time that you're looking at here, you're going to add the personal time and vacation time, and that's the actual full benefit or full salary package.
All right. 401-186 sick time buyback. That is 0.
Yeah, that's usually just used for when there's a retirement to pay out your unused sick time.
And we're not.
No one's planning to retire in that department this year.
401-187 vacation buybacks.
Yeah, this is largely vacation time that's earned and is not able to be used. That gets a portion of that can get paid out at the end at the request of the employee.
401-188 healthcare buyout. That is budgeted at 0. 401-189 vision insurance. 192 FICA, Medicare, unemployment compensation, health reimbursement accounts, health insurance, pension contributions. So we're going to see a lot of these line items in every single department. So, and a lot of this is stuff that is either contractually driven or is determined by our insurers, and it's not discretionary. Life insurance, accidental death, short-term disability, dental insurance. All right, so then we get to 401-321 on page 48. We've got telephone services for offices. And this does include phones for Main Street, Gettysburg. 401-324, cell phone service for the manager and the secretary. 325 is internet fees. And so I'm assuming like we have one internet circuit for your side of the building and you're just splitting that cost out amongst the departments?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
One thing, Charles, I think you told me this last year, but we can't shop for other insurance, right? It's mandated.
Insurance is mandated contractually. The provider could be shopped around.
Mm-hmm.
We have historically benefited from being part of the Pennsylvania Municipal Health Insurance Co-op, PIMIC. What that is, it broadens the risk pool by essentially multiple municipalities having all of their employees into one program. And it's Capital Blue is who we have through them. I don't know, Sarah, if you want to talk about the history of when we were on our own.
Yeah, when we were on our own. Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah. When we were on our own, the costs were much higher at that time. And by going with the consortium with all the municipalities, it helps bring those costs down to us.
Mm-hmm.
But we are, by contract, it's hard to shop around because we have to keep those
Same level
of benefits that the contracts, both contracts
Yeah.
require.
Or is everyone else who's in, what did you call it?
PIMIC.
PIMIC.
Are they all getting the same raises on their premiums as well?
No. So ours are going up because we have a high usage
Okay.
with our employees for various needs. So while the 20% is a lot, it probably would be worse if we're on our own,
Okay.
especially given our
Definitely.
usage.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
One thing I wanted to point out, since Member Bales is asking this question, if you look at the first page here, Department 395 under revenues, where it says refund of prior year expenses. These numbers in 24, 23, and 22 are largely the premiums that we got back from PIMIC because our usage those years was low. So we spent a lot of money on premiums, and then we had healthy employees and they weren't using their insurance, and so then we get a refund on a portion of that. And that's where we would post those types of things. I budgeted 0 for next year because I know we have a high usage.
Yeah.
So if something comes back, then it's a bonus.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We're at 401-329 on page 49, computer software fees. We do have a couple discretionary things here. Zoom, that's probably a price we locked in 2020 for an annual license. My guess is if we were to cancel this and then try to pick it up again at a later date, we'd probably pay a different rate. It seems like $175 a year is a pretty small fee, and it also covers our entire organization. So Charles can use that for meetings with our attorneys in Pittsburgh or for any number of purposes. And
when we had to pivot quickly to an online existence, I think we all saw the value in it. I mean, don't get me wrong, nobody ever wants to do a Zoom meeting ever again, but it seems like a pretty sensible expense to have.
I will say our usage on Zoom is very low now. We're pretty much almost exclusively driven on Microsoft Teams, good, bad, or indifferent, but that's part of your Microsoft package too. So,
Do you have a preference on keeping that?
I mean, it's under $200
Sure.
in a $7 million budget.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, we could probably just keep it. And,
Okay.
But it is an example of a discretionary line item.
And then the Adobe sign is actually really super useful for a variety of
is.
purposes.
Yep.
Being able to remotely sign documents, not have to worry about certified mail.
I'd like to start using that just as a sidebar. I'd really start using that more robustly because the audit trail that comes
Yep.
with the final document, it tells you who read it, when, and that they signed it, and then it went on to the next person in the chain.
We've used it
Pretty
for
cool.
legal documents, for attestations and investigations. It's for timesheets. It's super useful.
Yep.
The next page, 401-331, travel reimbursement, $825. We do send both the manager and the secretary to events around the state to represent us. So,
Yeah. So this is largely if a staff member were to attend a conference or some type of training, and they would get there in their own personal vehicle. So you could very easily eliminate this line item, and then whenever someone goes to a conference, they would just take a company car. That's been
Okay.
done before too.
we'll keep that on file. 401-354, insurance, workers' compensation. 420, dues, subscriptions, and memberships. This includes the International City/Managers Association, ICMA, American Association for Public Administration, Association for Pennsylvania Municipal Managers, notary license for Ms. Stull, Society for Human Resources Management, SHRM, Ms. Figueroa Ocasio, Government Finance, Officers Association for Ms. Murdorf. These professional organizations are wonderful ways for us to network with peers, as well as to find resources for problems when we're stumped.
I had meant to make these red because they are discretionary, and it just isn't represented here. So that this is an option, except for the notary license, that's mandatory, but the others could be cut.
Okay. Next page, page 51, 401-452, contracted IT services. Okay. The pertinent word being contracted. 401-460, continuing education and training. Now this is a lot of discretionary stuff. We've got the PML conference, we've got the APMM conference, we've got ICMA conference, Bartel and Bartel training. This is professional development stuff that we made a conscious decision to invest in our staff. Perlas, Bartel and Bartel again for Sarah. So you can kind of go through all that. It closes out the office of the manager. Page 53, we are on 403-115. So person A represents, this custodial service? What is this?
4.3 is tax collection.
Tax collection.
So this is for Lisa Angstad,
I
our
see
tax
that. I
collector.
see that now. Thank you.
Collector.
All right, so this is all statutorily driven. 403 continues on the next page. And then we get into 409, General Government Administration. All right. 210 is operating supplies. 215 is postage. 217, merchandise. For example, flags, pins,
desk flags. This is stuff we purchase and then sell to whomever might want it. 409-218. This is where we see the expenses for televising our meetings. So the 12 business meetings cost us $3,240. The 11 work sessions, not counting budget workshops, are $2,970. Council budget workshops are an additional $1,350. And then we publish the 2 newsletters annually at $4,250, though notably the authors do not always get paid. PEG channel appropriations. That is what we pay to. This is our annual stipend we pay to community media.
Yeah, so everyone that has a Comcast bill will be charged a little bit of a fee that comes back to us through the franchise fee we have with Comcast.
That's right.
This is the part of that fee that's allocated for your PEG's channel station, which is our friends at Community Media.
Great. I'm sorry, I lost my place. What page were we on?
I'm on page 41, but are you looking at the old?
I'm at the one that's in our folder.
Okay, because I'm on the one that has 2 columns, initial and then department.
That was the one in the email, right, that you sent?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm at the
Yeah,
one on
one.
the folder.
Yeah, that might be the confusion about the different page numbers. Largely, not much has changed in these, so I
All
can
right, so
call
what
out
page are we
something.
on in the new version?
41.
41.
Sorry, lost.
It's all right. There's a lot here. I noticed I've been missing things and not calling it out because I'm on TV.
Oh yeah, that is different. Okay. 409-220 miscellaneous expenses, 252 computer, copier, video parts, 260. Now, how are things like computer, copier, video parts discretionary? Like we could just choose not to fix stuff, or?
Yep.
Okay. All right, small tools, 260, 310, professional services, Cozen O'Connor, public strategies. So this is our lobbyist. This is definitely a discretionary fund.
It is, and it probably warrants a conversation. I know our friends at Gettysburg Municipal Authority who help share this cost with us, along with the Stormwater Authority. If you remember, the reason we hired Cozen was to help create an environment that ultimately would win a really large grant award, and specifically the Baltimore Street project. Obviously, we have not been awarded that grant application yet. But the intention is to apply for it again in the next round, in the next few months. So in a vacuum, this is a fairly large expense, to the better part of $36,000. However, if you're awarded a $19 million grant at the end, obviously then this becomes a no-brainer type of investment. Problem with this is there's no guarantee. So it's a risk-reward kind of calculation. I will say, while we have not been awarded the grant yet, we do have the ear of the people who are influential in the decisions. And I'm talking about Senators Fetterman and McCormick specifically, along with Congressman Joyce, who are all intimately aware of what we're trying to do here in Gettysburg. And those conversations are largely due to this investment. Those folks have gotten us those types of audiences. So I would advise to at least continue this through the next funding round. Obviously, this is budgeted for a 12-year period, a 12-month period. If we're awarded mid-year next year, we can pull the plug mid-year and then save some money there. But that's a council decision, and it is clearly in the box of discretionary.
And are our partners continuing to fund this as well?
I do not know about GMA. Maybe Member Berger would have a little more insight into that. But I know the Stormwater Authority just approved this last week to continue.
I think we would go for at least one more round.
One
We've
more
had some
round.
discussions.
No.
I think Mark Geis understands the stakes and the risk and rewards, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Have they been able to secure any grants? Or is it just one that they're working on?
We're really going for the big one with them. They're aware of our other projects, but we haven't really tasked them with those smaller grants. Now, 1.5 million isn't small, but so to answer your question, no. We really want them laser focused on the big one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just ask it bluntly, does anybody favor cutting this expense, or do people believe that this is an investment that's worth continuing to make?
I see it as an investment worth, we need to do that, I think.
I agree.
And again, Ella, please feel free to participate in any part of this, please.
Yeah, one more year.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be in favor of that. Is it, so it's almost like it's a retainer
It
for
is.
them.
Yep,
Are
there's
there-
a monthly retainer we pay them.
Are
yes.
there any, are there any services or anything that they would be able to, resources or services that they can provide to us monthly? Because it's just one big giant grant that doesn't take 12 months to write.
That would depend on how our agreement with them is written, and I don't, without pulling it and looking at it, I don't know that there's an opportunity to be refunded.
Right. Well, no, I'm just wondering if sometimes firms like this will be able to, yeah, we're working on this giant one, but it's 8 months out of the way. Do you have anything for us right now that we can assist you with?
Oh.
Since they're already being paid monthly as a retainer.
So yeah, ironically, the build grant application, the notice of funding, should open up this fall.
Okay.
With a submission probably by the end of January.
Okay.
That's the cycle that was on last year, and I have not heard that it would be different. Of course, a lot of this depends on when the government reopens too. So there's that nugget of info out there.
And we do always have the chance that a grant application window opens suddenly, like we had this happen in the fall with
Transportation alternatives.
with the GIL stuff. Happy brought the grant to our attention, and in that particular case, we did not use Cozen O'Connor to get that written as fast as we could. We used Michael Baker, but having these folks who are connected to the legislators who are actually making these decisions, who can nimbly react, when an opportunity falls in our lap, could be beneficial.
Do they send any kind of like monthly report as far as like this is what we're working on, or this is the status, or?
The answer to that is no, but we did ask them recently to start providing that to us, and so I don't know what that will look like, but they're aware of the request.
And maybe that can be forwarded to us.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yep.
And just one more thing, and when since they do have these connections with these distinguished elected officials, could they also put us in the room with them? Or could they be coming to things such as the
I-
America 250 Adams County that's coming up?
They are aware of America 250 Adams County, and they're aware of the big event at the end of the year next year. So when Wendy Allen says she has a growing VIP list,
Fantastic.
I will not say one way or the other, but there is a growing VIP list.
Well, and they're getting their carriage ride. Let's make sure we hit every pothole, okay?
Yeah, they're coming in on the steam engine. I say that in jest, but it's probably going to happen. To answer your question, I need to be a little deliberative because I don't want to get ahead of our federal representatives, but just know that heads are nodding
Sure.
up and down and not sideways on your
That's
question.
great. No, I think anytime you can utilize, because I understand the work of grant writing takes a lot of time, but with a firm that likely has a staff larger than ours, anything that we can say, hey, you need to do, sometimes you got to prod them. We're paying you monthly. Let's get something out of it, even if it is just, can you put me in the room at a party that these people are going to be at, because I want to talk to them about Gettysburg.
Those are, when I mentioned we were getting the audiences,
Fantastic. Thank you.
that was what I was getting at.
Okay. All right, so, as we get down to that deficit at the end of this process, keep pinning interesting things like this that might jump out at you. But it sounds like I'm hearing people think this is a smart investment. The next page, 42. We have another SIP entry. That's the build grant application resubmission, which hopefully he was just speaking of. Hopefully will open up in the coming weeks. General grant coordination. 409-311, Mayor Duzel auditors. They are the folks who do our annual audit and tell us how good we are at everything. 409-313, engineering and architectural. So we've got some money allocated here for SIP updates and a 5-year capital improvement plan.
The two are related.
Sure.
If there's any engineering work we can put that in there, but also the time for C.S. Davidson to sit down with staff and come up with your next iteration of a SIP.
409-314, legal services for ordinance writing. We could make that number higher, but we'd probably kill poor Harry. 409-315, legal services, right to know requests. This is not a number we set. This is a number the public sets.
Yeah, I mean, it's Sarah. Why don't you speak to this? You're the ones that always has to deal with it.
Right.
The
Right to
consumption of
know.
time and money whenever you get an RTK.
Right to know request, we cannot charge anything to the requester unless they're getting paper printed, then we can charge 25 cents a copy. Nowadays, everything is emailed, so we do not get anything for our time or preparing the documents to send to the requester, and we get usually about 100 or a little more every year for these right-to-know requests, and some of them are very time-consuming. Right now, we have a lot going planning director's way for a lot of his projects, and they are time-consuming, digging out all that information. But anyways, they are very time-consuming, and the borough doesn't get anything for their time.
Sure. 409-317, legal services, borough solicitor. This is separate from the writing of ordinances. This is
That's
for
like meeting attendance things. The other is actual work on amending an ordinance.
409-318, legal services, labor. This might be for his clerks.
Actually, that's
That's
Campbell
Campbell
Durant.
Durant. All right. Then we've got more internet fees there. 409-329, computer software fees. We've got Edmunds, which is our giant all
Enterprise system.
organizing system, which
provides terrible reports for us. E-Code 360, which makes our entire ordinance searchable online. Civic Plus website hosting, our domain. Paying for Zoom again.
Yeah, so again, the Zoom is separated, the total bill is separated out.
Oh,
by
you kind of
department
split it by
usage,
departments, all right.
Yeah, 175 is really low.
And then Adobe stuff, 409-331 travel reimbursement, 409-341 legal advertising, and that's specifically for meetings or for ordinances or?
All the above, anything we have to put in the Times.
Great. 409-341 legal advertising, 409-350 insurance vehicle. So we have a fleet of vehicles. We have vehicles that we use enterprise fleet system for. That includes police vehicles, parking vehicles, public works vehicles. You're going to see a lot of that. I think over time we have found that using the enterprise lease system has kept us in better repair and ended up costing us less than outright ownership of things that depreciate over time. Plus we get brand new vehicles periodically. More insurance on the next page. Surety and fidelity, public official, property, inland marine. Cyber risk, commercial umbrella, public utility, electricity, public utility, gas. All right, page 46. We're on 409-364, public utility sewer, public utility water, public utility stormwater. And this has a variety of parcels associated with it. 59 East High Street is this building, yes. 3032 North Stratton is a bizarre little sliver tacked onto the side of a house that we own. We're not sure why. 000 Brickyard Alley. We have an exempt strip of land in a public right-of-way. Same thing on South Washington Street. 409-373, repair and maintenance to this building. 409-374, repair and maintenance machinery. 384.
So you'll see there 1 and 2, this is the HVAC balance.
So put a pin in that. That's not necessarily discretionary, but we can think about how we want to pay for that a little bit.
Exactly, this was what I mentioned earlier, that if you wanted to find a way to trim down to 370, you could remove this and theoretically put this over in Fund 18 and draw down on those funds as well.
Right. 384, rent of machinery or equipment. That includes a postage machine and a copier. 388, commission on the county lot. That it's part of a revenue share between us and the county for the lot at the old magisterial building, which we manage. 390, bank service charges. 410, judgments and damages. Let's stay at 0. 420, dues, subscriptions, and memberships. So we have the ACBA, the Boroughs Association. That's pretty, I mean, all of these are pretty low, except for some of the state level stuff. But again, these are important organizations for us to be involved with. As Mrs. Butterfield has often observed when she goes to these meetings, people are eager to hear from Gettysburg, especially at the county level. 409, 452, IT and network services. 409, 460, continuing education and training. 740, capital purchase machinery. We have 0, and same thing for minor machinery. And that closes out 409. So we are about a third of the way through Fund 1. 410 tends to take a little while, so do we want to pause here for next time, folks, or do you want to keep going?
Might as well keep going.
Keep going? All right.
So since we don't have anyone representing the police department, do
Yeah.
you want to skip past that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
That would take us to 411 would be the next one on.
This is page 82.
Yeah.
All right. 411, 110. Fire.
This is the department that refunds our local tax portion to volunteer firefighters that live within the municipal boundaries.
I see. Okay. So 411, 110. This looks to be a salary adjustment. Gettysburg Fire Department business agent is a paid employee at the department. That
Yeah.
employee is processed through the borough's payroll system.
Correct, and they are now a part-time employee there.
Right. 192, reimbursable payroll taxes. 193, reimbursable benefits. 198, reimbursable property tax. This is important. This is something that was brought to our attention a number of years ago. The state of Pennsylvania has a problem on its hands, which is that most municipalities use volunteer fire systems, and volunteer fire systems are sort of doomed to collapse in the coming years. If and when that happens, if the volunteer fire department were to dissolve, Gettysburg would be compelled to create a full-time fire department. At which point we should all expect to see our property taxes double, at least.
At least.
So there is a program through the state of Pennsylvania. They've allowed us to offer a tax abatement to volunteer firefighters who reside within the borough, who respond to a certain threshold of calls throughout the year, and we have 3 people who are taking advantage of that tax leniency, and it is an incredibly small price to pay for what they are putting on the line for us. 411, 354, workers' comp. 361, public utilities, electricity. 363, hydrant servicing. 544, fire relief. This is okay. Great. Page 84, Department 413, code enforcement. 135, contracted services. These are fees we pay to PMCA. They do some of the high-level code enforcement for construction purposes here in the borough. And they also have a representative who sits on HARB. 413, 215, postage. 252, copies, computers, video parts. 321, telephone landline. 324, wireless phone for code enforcement. Pete Griffioon. 325, his portion of the internet fees. 329, computer software fees. 352, contracted IT services. 460, continued education and training. Again, this is monies we've allocated through Bartel and Bartel for personal and professional development for our employees. 740, capital purchase machinery.
This is the fleet,
Fleet management.
enterprise fleet. So that vehicle is shared with another department.
Okay. Page 87, Department 414, Planning. 110, salary for the Planning Director, John Whitmore. 112, salary lines for Code Enforcement and for Karen Mesher. 113, salary for our interns. 114, salary for Historic Preservation and Environmental. That's also partially paid, mostly paid by the Stormwater Authority. 135, contracted services, C.S. Davidson. They'll be working on the SIP plan as well as the our intended work on the Saldo next year. 172, compensation holiday leave. 173, personal time. 174, sick leave. 175, vacation. 187, vacation buyback. 188, healthcare buyout. 189, vision insurance, FICA, Medicare, unemployment compensation, health reimbursement accounts, health insurance, pension contributions, life, accidental death and dismemberment, short-term disability. Again, we have a cost share with Stormwater on Ms. English's personnel expenses. 199, dental insurance. 210, operating supplies. 215, postage. 218, public relations. So here we have 218, where we have put in televising 12 HARB meetings. I think they might do 10 a year. Do they do 12?
It's moved to a system of 12, yeah.
As well as 12 planning commission meetings. So are those expenses people want to pay for?
I can remember one time when we just had our business meetings filmed, and we had the same discussion. And of course, the public does watch these either online or on the television. I know for me, thankfully, the public did donate, and I was able to watch the planning meetings. I don't think I would have been as thorough in my understanding of that process without that. So definitely, I think I would be in favor of the Planning Commission. Interestingly, before our last meeting, I wanted to watch the last HARB meeting, and I couldn't find it, and I thought, oh no, I guess this isn't televised. I would be open for that discussion too. They have been controversial somewhat here over the past few years, and the public likes transparency. I think that's important for public trust, and I think I'd be in favor at least talking about the HARB meetings too, but definitely I'm in favor of funding the Planning Commission being televised.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree with Councilman Berger with respect to covering the meetings and televising them and paying for both the HARB meetings and the Planning Commission meetings as recommended. I think it is important for transparency, and like Chris and some of the rest of us, we can't always make the Planning Committee meetings or the HARB meetings. We might get minutes, we might get, word on the street, as they say, but we don't have a chance for other reasons to see the meetings. So for the public benefit and for the benefit of the members of council.
I just want to, I'm not disagreeing with either of you. I just want to put it out there. Not televising these is not us being not transparent, right? Like, all of our meetings are public. These chairs are all empty, right? Like, they could be coming to these meetings, right? I understand the value of televising them, but we are not being untransparent by not televising them.
Yes, I agree with Councilman Berger and Councilwoman Sanders. I would be in favor of this, specifically because so many of the public have been asking for it, and some have even been funding it for the last at least 12 months or so. And you know, and as of late, as we know, HARB and planning and zoning topics have been hot topics as of late. So it's important to have that easily accessible. Certainly for us as for we as council, having that video, be able to go back and watch that to say what was actually said and what was talked about, I think is good. I'll just, you know, as I always do with, as I always try to, and I know we all do, to encourage the public to attend meetings and or watch meetings and voice their opinions. There have been a lot of public that have been asking for these meetings to be recorded and streamed. This may or may not be raising taxes because of it. Those of you that do not agree that this should be in the budget, we need to hear from you. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. We should, I mean, accessibility I would be in favor of. I wanted to ask Sue before she slipped out if she had any analytics from televising that to see, you know, what was the engagement there. I don't know if that's, you know, if we approve this for the year, are we going to be able to see any of those analytics as far as is this being used or how often, what's the average?
So there's a variety of ways people can watch these meetings. They can do it on Facebook. They can do it on YouTube. We might be able to get those analytics from community media. They may not have them. I don't know.
We're asking right now.
I see that. No, that's an interesting question too. Like, do we have that feedback? I don't know. I mean, you can, if you just look at the Facebook and the YouTube, you can see that over the course of the year that we were, that those planning meetings were being screened. I mean, it was several hundred people each time. I mean, we get 600 views on Facebook for these meetings, which seems insane to me, right?
It's riveting.
I was going to say that I think just the way in which people are receiving information, different platforms, streaming, community media, and I think the more we can be accessible to those different platforms, the better. I'm always surprised when people will comment. I'm sure my colleagues get the same when people comment about one of our meetings and they weren't here, but they are following and watching. And as my colleagues have said, it's really helpful when we're not able to attend some of these other meetings that we can go back. So I definitely support both planning and HARB to be.
Yeah. Steal this. My question was just going to also be how many people are actually using it. My other question would be, why necessarily are you using the system that you're using? Like, is there a cheaper one possible? Or have you not really looked into that?
I don't know that there's anybody cheaper, right? I mean, certainly anybody could sit here in the gallery with their phone and put this as on Facebook Live, right? I mean, that would be free. We have a really good working relationship with community media, and
Yes.
they've been good to us, and it is a service that we don't want to see, you know, foundering here in the county. There are only a few places we get to put our money where our mouth is when it comes to supporting organizations that we think do good, and community media does good. Yeah, I mean, maybe we can get usage numbers from them, but I'm not hearing, like, you know, if it was less than 300, then right? Like, I mean, it seems like people seem to value this as a program.
We'll have those for the next meeting.
I also think, too, just in terms of demographics, I think the people that watch community media probably are different than people that would stream it from Facebook. And so I think we're reaching more of the population with the varied platforms.
And I don't know with you know, we would really need to look at those analytics if we really want to know like exactly the demographics of, you know, I would wager that a lot of those numbers that we have been told about aren't necessarily people that are living in the borough of Gettysburg that are watching these,
Yeah.
which is fine if they want to be educated on the borough of Gettysburg, but you know, they're not paying our taxes.
Yeah, and you know, to the subject of Ms. Sipperly's public comment too, if I'm remembering the meeting where we talked about this previously, I think Manager Gable was just kind of spitballing a number. I don't think he was saying, yeah, this is the hard cost. And I think the number you came up with was closer to 30,000, not 50, which if you take all of our borough council meetings and then 10 ABCs and all of their meetings, yeah, we'd probably get pretty close to that. So right now we're only talking about Harbin planning because those are the ones people are upset about right now. But it could be any of the other ABCs at any given moment, right? Like, and next year, are we going to be talking about, I don't know, code enforcement appeals? Maybe.
Yeah, those can get contentious.
Yeah, so, I mean, zoning hearings can get contentious, right? So, you know, at some point, we may want to think about where's the line and how much we're willing to spend here. Because again, all of these meetings are public, and nobody is here except you good folks. Right?
You are.
All right, so I think I'm hearing that I think all of us are in favor of paying for those. All right, next page, page 93, 14,220, miscellaneous expenses, 252, computer copier video parts, 303, ordinance amendments. We go through a bunch of those. 304, engineering and other services. 314, special legal services, borough solicitor. That's this is a carve out specific to planning. 314, yeah, that's right. It's just a 317, zoning hearing board. 318, ordinance amendment review. Going back to 317, so zoning hearing board meetings do start to incur costs, whereas other ABCs don't, in that zoning hearing is a quasi-judicial board, and sometimes they have to have a stenographer, sometimes they've got other expenses involved, including a solicitor. 318, ordinance amendment review, that'd be fees to attorneys. 321, telephone landline for Mr. Whitmore's office, for Ms. Mesher's office, for Ms. English's office, for Mr. Griffion's office. 325, their share of the internet services. 329, computer licensing fees, including that Adobe sign. 331, travel reimbursement for conferences and other activities. 341, legal advertising. That's only discretionary if we decide to do nothing special next year, I suppose.
Right.
354, workers' comp. 420, memberships, including the Adams County Historical Society, $75, $250 for the National Trust or Historic Preservation, and $425 for the American Planning Association membership. 452, contracted IT services. 460, continuing education. So we've got some discretionary funds there. That's conferences and trainings, etc. Bartel and Bartel again. And that brings us to the end of Department 414. Anybody have any notes? Okay.
Can I make a comment about Bartel real quick?
Please.
Because you've seen it in a couple. I want to thank the council for investing in that. Our staff's finding that to be very valuable. Last year's Bartel program was Know Thyself, which is where the staff went through a personality profile, a temperament profile rather, and the next iteration of their programming is Know Thy Team. So now we're really getting to understand how each other is wired as a human, and now we can build a team. So thank you for that. The staff has found that very beneficial. I know some folks behind me were a little surprised, I think, about, that I think they were afraid that, here's another, mandated professional development tool that everyone just checks the box and moves on. But this program they've found actually beneficial, not just professionally, but personally as well. So thank you.
Cool. All right. 415 is emergency management. 415-220, civil service testing supplies. Whenever we issue tests for either new officers or for somebody trying to move into a new rank, we have to pay for those tests. 310, EMA coordinator stipend. That is a little bit of money we give to Dave Sanders, who helps with our emergency management plans. And that's coordinated with the county emergency services. 460, civil service training and testing. All right. Next page, 421, health, which is a strange title here. We have $500 for our recycling initiatives, and then we have $544 for our trap neuter release program. That is discretionary. We started that a few years ago. I think the initial year was at $1,500, and then we dropped it to $1,000 because we didn't quite spend it. This year it's $500. I think we've had some pretty good success with that in trying to control some of the colony populations around the borough. It's a good way for us to support the SPCA and as well as
I also, just to comment about that, it was not too long ago when the Agway building was up and running, and there were problems with litters of kittens and that were rabid, actually, in the borough. And you may remember that. That was maybe about 10, 11 years ago. And there were people in the community that had to get the series of shots and things through that. So I think, I think beyond just the SPCA, I think it's just in terms of public health, I think it's an important program.
Cool. Everybody supportive of that continuing? All right. Department 430, Public Works. 110, Public Works Director, that's Robbie Harbaugh's salary. 112, full-time employees. Can we talk about the red box there?
Yeah, that's Dave Staub is our part-time custodian currently. Just as a placeholder, in the first draft of this, I made that a full-time position. I left the name there, but dialed back the numbers to essentially what would create 2 part-time positions for that. So you'll see in the 2 columns under initial and department, as we go through this, you'll see different numbers between initial and department. And it just shows you how this has evolved over the different iterations.
Okay. 114, professional staff, Mr. LeBure. 115, part-time staff. We have a few people under there. 116, salary pay differentials. 117, salary pay differentials. This has to do with contractual pay rates that we give for special circumstances. 135, contracted services. 172, holiday pay. 173, personal leave. 174, sick leave. 175, vacation leave. 176, overtime, other compensation. Regular. 179, other compensation, overtime, holiday. 180, other compensation, overtime, holiday, OT.
These are, all right, so these are all red. You could make the argument that this is discretionary in that there's no mandate to work a holiday, let alone overtime on a holiday. So it's rare, first of all, that someone would come in and work on a holiday. It does happen. Memorial Day comes to mind whenever we have the parade. For this line item, it's if someone worked over 8 hours on that holiday, they would get it overtime. So you could strike that, and we could do the hardcore, no one will ever get overtime when they're working on a holiday. This line item's not heavily used, but it is budgeted.
Would this also be for like a blizzard on Christmas Day, or like, you know, they've got to go plow?
You could make that argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be if they were more than 8 hours of the day.
Well, there's holiday pay, and then there's holiday overtime pay.
Yeah. So when you're working on a holiday, contractually they get double time. So if they're here 9 hours, for that 1 hour, they'll get double time and a half.
And that is negotiated in our agreement with them, but Charles is trying to make the point that if we just make a policy like, nope, sorry, you're not working, then they don't get to work on those holidays, but we also don't have the ability to pay them should we have an emergency, right? We would have to, I mean, we have the ability, but I don't know, we wouldn't have budgeted it.
Yeah, we would pay them. It would just show up as a deficit at the end of the year.
All right, 181, other compensation, overtime, special events. 187, other compensation, vacation pay buyback. 188, other compensation, healthcare buyout. 189, vision insurance. 191, uniform allowance. 192, FICA, Medicare, unemployment compensation, health reimbursement accounts, health insurance, pension contributions, life insurance, AD&D, short-term disability, dental insurance. 430 to 10. We're on page 115. Operating supplies. 215 postage. 220 miscellaneous expenses. 231 vehicle fuel, gasoline. 251 parts and maintenance for vehicles. 252 computer, copier, video parts. 260 small tools equipment. 313 engineering and architectural. And here we do have a small discretionary expense. This would be the design work for the new Public Works building. I'm kidding when I say it's small. It's $148,000.
Yep. So this falls into the bucket of the HVAC. Both are currently planned to be budgeted out of current money, but if you want to drill down on your reserves over in Fund 30 or Fund 18, you could do that.
Now, we've all toured the building. We've all heard the presentation. We all understand the need to make a long-term investment in this department that does so incredibly much for us. We just have to, as we finalize this budget this year, we need to make a decision as to where we want those funds to come from. And this is just the design phase. It's not building it. But
And this is phase one design, if you remember. Chad gave you, this is a two-phase project. Each phase has its own design budget, and this is just for phase one.
yeah. Also in this department, we have fees for Chad's meeting attendance. 321 telephones, landlines, 324 telephone wireless, 325 internet fees, 329 computer software fees, 341 legal advertising, 350 insurance vehicle, 352 liability, 354 workers' compensation, 356 insurance property, 357 insurance inland marine, 358 herbicide pesticide licenses. This is a really important thing they have to do. Is it annually, Bradley?
So the license you have to renew every 3 years, I believe it is, but you have to have so many credits for renewal. So continued education is a requirement.
Cool. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot while you're pinch hitting here today. 359 insurance. What is that word? Comercila umbrella.
Yeah,
Commercial.
typo.
It's a new way to say it.
Oh, is that just a typo?
Oh, yeah.
It's
It's supposed to say commercial.
All right. I think when we finish this department,
Must
we're
have
going to
been
call it a night here. 361 electricity, 362 gas, 364 sewer, 366 water, 368 stormwater, 373 building maintenance, 374 machinery and equipment repair. Oh, and Ella, if you have any interest in touring a facility like DPW, I bet we could hook that up too. It's worth visiting, and it's worth seeing where a lot of the like really important infrastructure work for the borough gets done. It'd be a good use of your time. It's pretty cool stuff. 384 rent of machinery and equipment. 420 dues, subscriptions, memberships. 450 permits and fees. 452 contracted IT services. 460 continuing education. That's where we see the Bartel and Bartel stuff. 470 drug and alcohol testing. 740 capital purchase machinery. The machines that we operate take a beating, and they need to be kept up. They need to be kept safe for the people operating them. It takes us to the end of Department 430, and I think I'd like to stop there for the night. Does anybody have anything on 430 they'd like to talk about before we go? All right. So let's put a pin in that. Next time we meet, we'll hopefully be able to knock 410 out and then move on, starting with 434. Oh yeah, we made good time here.
So for next week, you will get the third draft of this. So you'll look for column 3, which is listed as manager. So there'll be slight differences based on our conversations tonight.
Great.
On those.
Thanks all for participating in this. It's really important stuff we're doing here, and I do want to reiterate my gratitude for the new formatting. I know it was a ton of work, and it looks really good. It's really straightforward, and I think easy to digest. Thank you all for a constructive conversation. We will now move to our we can table the fee resolution till another time.
Yeah, we can do that last.
Right, that's what I thought.
After everything's
Right,
finalized.
so we'll move to our second public comment section of the evening. This is not restricted to items appearing on tonight's agenda. Please use the podium, state your name and address of residence, and please limit yourself to 5 minutes. Is there any public comment? All right, thanks everybody. We will adjourn.